LeBron James, there's only one player we look at and we say definitively we think was better. And that was Michael Jordan. Reggie Miller never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Allen Houston never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Nobody called themselves the greatest in anything but that man and his camp.
The NBA's greatest debate just took a turn that nobody saw coming. In a world where basketball legends let their games speak volumes, one name stands apart for a reason that's stirring up the entire sports community. Stephen A. Smith just fired off a statement that has the internet buzzing and NBA fans divided once again. He called out LeBron James, not for his accomplishments, not for his talent, but for something deeper. Something that touches the heart of legacy. According to Stephen A., LeBron is the only legend who proudly declares himself as the greatest of all time, and that one act alone may have fractured how fans view his place in basketball history. This is not just about rings, stats, or MVPs. This is about authenticity, legacy, and respect in the company of titans, the ones who let others speak for them. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because what you're about to hear might change the way you look at greatness forever. When Stephen A. Smith pointed out that LeBron James is only compared to one player in the past, Michael Jordan, he emphasized more than just a basketball rivalry. He spoke on behalf of millions who have seen both eras. While Stephen was quick to acknowledge LeBron's greatness, his tone changed when he drew attention to the fact that only Jordan sits firmly above LeBron in the public eye. This was not a statement made to diminish LeBron's career, but rather to highlight the level of competition in the greatest of all time conversation. The issue isn't whether LeBron is great, it's that the public places Jordan in a separate tier. That subtle distinction casts a shadow over any self-proclaimed title of GOAT that LeBron or his camp may declare. If greatness were truly self-evident, there would be no need to vocalize it. The fact that Jordan never said it but is still regarded as such speaks volumes. What Stephen is pointing out here is the authenticity in how greatness is perceived. Jordan didn't beg for validation. The world simply gave it to him. That authenticity is what separates him from LeBron. And in making this comparison, Stephen is laying the foundation for a much larger point, that LeBron's need to brand himself as the GOAT may be doing more harm than good to his legacy. It's not a knock on his talent, it's a criticism of how he handles his narrative.
LeBron James, there's only one player we look at and we say definitively we think was better. And that was Michael Jordan.
Stephen A. then expanded the lens, pulling in names like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant to draw an important line between action and self-proclamation. When he emphasized that players like Jordan and Kobe never publicly crowned themselves as the greatest, it was a reminder of how the legends of the past carried themselves. They didn't need to convince anyone of their greatness. It was shown in how they played, how they led, and how they won. This isn't just about humility, it's about authenticity. In an era where branding can often cloud the truth, LeBron stands out not because of what others say about him, but because of what he says about himself. That's a significant shift in how basketball greatness is communicated. Stephen is challenging the idea that greatness should be self-declared. When Kobe was dominating, he didn't need a marketing campaign to make the case. When Jordan dominated an entire generation, fans and analysts crowned him without him ever needing to utter a word. The moment a player calls himself the GOAT, the conversation becomes less about their talent and more about their ego. That's the pitfall LeBron may have stepped into. While his accolades are undeniable, the way he's managed his image may have chipped away at his authenticity. In this section, Stephen A. is not questioning LeBron's stats. He's questioning his need for external validation.
They were trying to compel people to say he was the greatest. Michael Jordan didn't say that about himself. Kobe Bryant didn't say that about himself.
Stephen A. didn't stop at Kobe and Jordan. He brought up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and Tim Duncan, three of the most decorated and respected players in NBA history. These are names that echo through the halls of basketball's highest achievements. And yet none of them ever declared themselves the greatest. What that shows is a legacy rooted in consistency, humility, and respect for the game. Kareem, the league's all-time leading scorer for decades, never claimed the GOAT title. Russell, with 11 championships, never needed to. Tim Duncan, a 5-time champion and defensive anchor, let his resume do the talking. When Stephen listed them, it wasn't just a roll call of legends. It was a contrasting character. In their silence, there is dignity, and that silence is what makes their greatness even louder. LeBron's decision to proclaim himself the greatest, especially on a public platform, becomes even more glaring when stacked up against these silent giants. It's not that LeBron doesn't deserve to be in the conversation, it's that greatness recognized by others holds more weight than greatness declared by oneself. What Stephen is trying to show is that LeBron's narrative feels constructed, it feels curated, and in that curation, something vital is lost. The organic, undeniable authenticity that fans crave in their legends.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't say that about himself. Bill Russell didn't say that about himself. Tim Duncan didn't say that about himself. Nobody said that. Nobody but him.
To further hammer the point home, Stephen used the example of Steph Curry. Curry, arguably the most revolutionary shooter the game has ever seen, has never claimed to be the greatest shooter, yet the world sees him that way. Analysts, players, and fans all agree that Curry changed the game. The way teams defend, the way players train, and the way offenses are built now all stem from what Curry introduced. But Curry never had to say it. The impact was so evident that the title was given to him without him even asking. Stephen contrasts this humility with LeBron's more self-promoting tendencies to show just how different their approaches are. In a way, Steph's silence reinforces his status. It validates that his greatness is real and recognized. That organic recognition becomes the ultimate sign of respect. On the other hand, LeBron's declaration feels forced when compared to Curry's natural rise to basketball legend status. So the irony is that if LeBron had never said anything, the conversation might still be in his favor, but in making the claim himself, he disrupted the flow of public perception. It shifted attention from his achievements to his motives. That shift is what Stephen A. is highlighting. LeBron's need to control the narrative may have inadvertently undermined it.
Steph Curry hasn't said that about himself. Steph Curry has never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Ray Allen never called himself the greatest shooter of all time.
Stephen A. drives the point home even further by emphasizing that LeBron James and his camp are the only ones in NBA history who have pushed the narrative that he is the greatest of all time. This isn't about fans debating in barbershops or sports analysts making comparisons. This is about the player himself steering the conversation. And when Stephen A. says there isn't a single legend, past or present, who has done what LeBron and his camp are doing, he is highlighting something deeper than just words. He's revealing a shift in the way greatness is marketed. Greatness used to be earned, witnessed, and then defined by others. LeBron flipped that process on its head. In taking charge of his own narrative, LeBron crossed a line that none of the legends ever did. Not Kareem, not Duncan, not even Shaquille O'Neal, who is one of the most charismatic and confident players the league has ever seen. They all let the game speak for them. And by doing so, they remained authentic in the eyes of fans and peers alike. LeBron, on the other hand, placed the crown on his own head, and that changed everything. In Stephen's eyes, the problem isn't that LeBron believes he's the greatest. It's that he made the conversation about himself instead of letting history shape his legacy. That distinction is what separates authenticity from performance. It's what draws the line between being considered the GOAT and calling yourself one. LeBron's self-branding has come at a cost. His legacy now feels more like a sales pitch than a story told by time.
Reggie Miller never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Allen Houston never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Nobody called themselves the greatest in anything but that man and his camp.
Michael Wilbon then enters the discussion with a statement that adds powerful credibility to Stephen A.'s critique. Wilbon, who has personal relationships with both Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, reveals that neither of them ever referred to themselves as the greatest. Instead, they deflected that praise onto others. And that deflection is not just humility, it is a conscious decision to protect their authenticity. When Wilbon shares that both Jordan and Kobe would rather talk about other greats than elevate themselves, he is revealing a mindset grounded in respect and a team-first mentality. In their view, greatness is not just about personal accolades, it's about contribution to the game. That mindset builds loyalty, it earns admiration. It's what made Jordan's name legendary even after his final retirement and what made Kobe's memory larger than life after his tragic passing. LeBron, in contrast, broke from that tradition. His desire to be at the center of the GOAT conversation, not as a topic of debate but as a self-proclaimed truth, fractured the connection between his greatness and the community that celebrates it. Wilbon's insight reveals that even in private, the greats were measured, respectful, and never self-absorbed. That kind of restraint makes their greatness shine even brighter. By highlighting this difference, Wilbon is showing us that LeBron's need to self-identify as the greatest puts him on an island, separate from the brotherhood of legends who let their actions define their stature.
The men you've mentioned, none of them say, I was the greatest. I was the greatest, and Michael, and Magic, and they always
So
will
did
say,
I.
wait a minute.
So did I.
They point to other guys.
Wilbon doesn't stop there. He goes on to say that in the history of sports, there's only one man who ever got a pass for calling himself the greatest, and that man was Muhammad Ali. This comparison is seismic. Ali's claim to being the greatest wasn't just about boxing. It was about social justice, cultural resistance, and standing up for beliefs larger than sport. Ali's words were part of a greater fight, a movement. His declaration had weight because it defied the odds and stood against an establishment that sought to silence him. LeBron, by contrast, operates in a world that celebrates him. He is not a rebel fighting a system. He is the system. When Wilbon makes this comparison, it's clear that LeBron's self-proclaimed greatness does not carry the same cultural weight or revolutionary context. Instead of elevating his message, it dilutes it. Ali's authenticity came from struggle, from risk, and from undeniable impact beyond the ring. LeBron's self-labeling comes in a world that already rewards him, already praises him, already puts him on a pedestal. That difference cannot be ignored. And it's why Wilbon draws the line so clearly. Only Ali could get away with calling himself the greatest, because the world eventually saw that he truly was, in more ways than sport could measure. LeBron, however, exists in a different story, and by using the same language as Ali without carrying the same weight, he loses something crucial. He loses the authenticity that defined every GOAT before him.
In the history of sports, I give total pass to saying I'm the greatest, and that's where GOAT comes from, Muhammad Ali.
When the greats walked off the court for the last time, their stories were etched into history not because they said they were legends, but because the world declared it for them. Michael Jordan never had to say it, Kobe never had to tweet it, Kareem, Duncan, Russell, and even Curry all knew that respect earned from silence spoke louder than any self-congratulation ever could. LeBron James, with all his accolades, achievements, and talent, took a different route. He declared his greatness, he branded it, he shaped it, and in doing so, he stepped outside the sacred pattern of how legends are remembered. As Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon have both pointed out, greatness isn't just about numbers, it's about legacy. And legacy is built by how the world remembers you, not how you promote yourself. In calling himself the greatest, LeBron may have lost something more valuable than recognition. He may have lost authenticity. And in the GOAT debate, authenticity is everything. Because when the lights fade and the crowd stops cheering, the only thing that lasts is how you made people feel. And the greatest of all time, they never had to say it, the world said it for them.